Hi, Arts Preview. This is a pre-recording of this lecture here that I'm giving you today. I am present, and if you have any questions, feel free to kind of write them down, and then when I get to the end of the lecture, let's go through and answer your questions. All right, so this is your final project for the quarter. Believe it or not, we're nearing the end of our quarter and our semester. So let's talk about it. This is our color unit. So we're going to be focusing on color schemes and the color wheel and all things color. And we're also going to be learning about the art movement, pop art. So what is pop art? You probably have heard about it. You've seen images that you thought were pop art, or you've just seen these images and you weren't really sure what movement they were from. It emerged in Great Britain and traveled to the United States in the mid to late 1950s. And it really challenged the concept of fine art because it depicted items and people from popular culture. So that's where the term pop art comes from, popular culture. So what is an example of something from popular culture? Well, an example for you guys right now might be a YouTuber or maybe a TikToker or an object like a video game console. So things that come from your culture, what you focus on in your world. It also had a lot to do with imagery that had similarities to advertising, comic books, and cartoons. And all of these things could be mass produced, either printed, screen printed, or even contemporary pop art uses a lot of technology. So pop art in the 60s and the 50s was silk screening, which was a hand technique, but still a way to mass produce something. And two famous pop artists are Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein. So color wheel, reminder of the color wheel. We've got the three primary colors, and the reason we focus on these for this assignment is that all you need are these three to make all of these colors. So yellow, red, and blue, and you can see on this color wheel that they're connected by this triangle here. When you mix two primaries, you get a secondary. So that's this green and this orange and this purple. And then when you mix a secondary with a primary, you get a tertiary, which means third tier of colors. So you get a blue purple here, and a purple red, and a red orange, and an orange yellow, and so on and so forth. The colors that are on this side of the color wheel are warm colors, and you can remember that by thinking of things that are warm like fire. And the colors that are on this side of the color wheel are cool colors. And you can think about things in nature that are cool like water and snow and the sky and the ocean. So here's some examples of some warm color schemes. The work here on the left, this is Andy Warhol. This is Marilyn Monroe, famous actress of the 50s and 60s. These are all made from the same silk screens, but he uses different colors on each screen to create the different artworks. And we see all of the warm colors here on the spectrum, reds, oranges, yellows, pinks, all the tints and shades of those. Here's some warm color schemes as well, but also some cool color schemes. So ask yourself this question: which Marilyn Monroes have a warm color scheme only? So think about that for a second. Which one has only warm colors? Actually, there isn't one that has only warm, but this one has the most warm. There's some of this blue that acts as kind of a shadow, but the rest, the oranges and the yellows and the pinks, are all warm colors. Cool colors are, again, the colors that are cool in nature, the blues and the greens, and like some tints and shades of those. So which Maryland is almost all cool colors? Well, it's probably this one down in the bottom right, except for that little dash of pink and red. So color schemes. A color scheme is a mixture of colors or grouping of colors that has a theme to it or a relationship on the color wheel. So complementary color schemes are colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. So for example, red and green are opposite each other. So these are Andy Warhol's Endangered Animal series. Which animals are made of only complementary colors? Look at that for a second. Think about it. Colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. Well, this ram up here is an example because it's orange and blue. Here's some more complementary color schemes. Andy Warhol also was a graphic designer for magazines, and so there's a lot of his work that representing products like clothing and accessories. Which Coca-Cola cans have only complementary colors? Well, probably this one in the middle here, this orange and this blue. Analogous colors are colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So right next to each other. So like blues and greens, reds and oranges, blues and purples. This is also an Andy Warhol print. Which David Bowie's are made of an analogous color scheme? So analogous means colors right next to each other on the color wheel. So this top right one would be the one. If you want to mix a monochromatic color scheme, which means one color, mono means one, and tints of that color, add white, or shades of that color, add black. So here's an example of a portrait of Michelle Obama that is monochromatic, and we have the color purple, which is a secondary color. Tints of that create the highlights on her face, and shades of that create the shades on her face. So for this assignment, you're going to choose a pop icon of your choice, of your choosing. So something, a famous person, or an object from popular culture, your culture, not the 60s and the 50s, but your culture that you love, and create an artwork only using one color scheme we learned about in class and a range of value. So your artwork should have at least 3 values in it. So a value is the range from light to dark. So here's an example. The values in this image here, the light green is the highlight or the tint on the face. The purple represents the medium tones on the face, and the dark green represents the shadows. So this is going to still look like a flat image, but be really poppy and also have some range of value to it, or 3-dimension. Color schemes to choose from: warm, cool, complementary, analogous, or monochromatic. 3 values you're going to choose using the color wheel. Okay. So here are the steps, and I'm going to go over this. You're not going to do any of these steps today. We will go over this later in some demos, but you're going to be printing out or doing this digitally, finding an image of your pop culture person or icon, and you're going to divide the values up. So you're going to divide up the highlights, the medium tones, and the darker tones, and that's going to help you figure out where to put your colors. So here's some fun examples of the Mona Lisa, Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, done in all different pop ways. All right, so I'm not going to go through this part right now. I'll talk about this later in an assignment. But what I want you to do today is create